everyone. Today I am with Marina Rolink, one of, in my opinions, Scotland's best kind of, up and coming singer-songwriters, greatest voices of the country, in my opinion. This is following on a little series. I'll turn to you. A little series of videos we have been doing. Craig has done a few, chatting with different bands that have had releases this year. And although Marina has not had any releases this year, she has lots coming up. And in my top listens of the year on Tidal, Marina placed twice in the top 10. So I thought a good excuse for a catch up and a chat about music and this year and just what's kind of been happening. So thanks very much, Marina, for chatting to me and taking some time.
No, thanks for having me. I'm excited, and thank you for all your kind words.
No, not at all. I mean it. I genuinely mean it. Everyone that comes to the studio, I put them onto your tunes, and So what we want to talk about today is just your songwriting, how you approach songwriting, because you've always had, I know everyone says this, but genuinely you've got a very unique way of approaching songwriting that always kind of stood out. Even for those that don't know, me and Marina met in college, through college, and even then there was a way that you approach songwriting and melody and piano parts that was just always a bit separate to a lot of other singer-songwriters that were kind of in the scene at the time. So talking about that, what's in the pipeline for 2021, and just kind of having a wee chat about music and celebrating it.
Yes.
So yeah, I wanted to get right off the bat and talk about songwriting, kind of how you approach songwriting and where your songs come from. You're very passionate about lyrics and the lyrical content of your songs, especially your two new singles. You Could Have Been a Genius and Because of Love. There's lots of you wear your heart on your sleeve a lot of your songs, but the lyrics are never dead obvious. I know you quite like to pull something out of the ether as an idea and kind of expand that into a huge metaphor for a song, in the best way. So if we go back a little bit, how did you kind of first start getting into wanting to do songwriting and writing songs?
So I do remember when I was younger, I always liked singing, but I felt like there's I just feel like when I was growing up, it was there was that whole stigma attached to a female singer just being a singer and nothing else. And I guess when I started getting to an age where I understood social pressures like that, I was like, I should probably start learning some instruments so that I'm not tagged as just a female singer. And as an adult now, there's nothing wrong with being a singer and nothing else. But I guess at a younger age, I was you know what it was like back then. If you were just the singer and you were the female singer, it was just the way.
There maybe wasn't as much merit behind it, as a songwriter as well.
You weren't valued, and I remember being in bands when I was younger and being the vocalist and only the vocalist and not understanding the musicality of it. I always felt at a bit of a loss, or I didn't really understand what was going on. So I started when I was in 5th or 6th year at high school. I started kind of teaching myself piano and guitar, and then I remember writing my first song. There was a little tiny room in my high school, and it had an acoustic upright piano in it. And I remember I just knew the triads, 3-note chords. One of my teachers asked them to show me how do you play a chord on the piano, and then so I knew all the major chords and all the minor chords, the basics. And I remember writing my first song, and then I was like, I'm going to play this at the school talent show, and I played it, and it was but it got such a good reaction. It was one of those pure, woe is me first songs. It's so bad. But I got a really good reaction, and you know what it's like when you're in high school, everyone's like, I can't believe you wrote that. Do you know what I mean? So I got that pure buzz, oh my God, I wrote a song and people actually like something that I made up. So I think after that, that was the wee buzz that made me realise this is something I want to keep doing. And then And then I wrote a song on the guitar as well. It's called If I Fail, my first guitar song. It's like the classic 4 chords. But then, yeah, so after that, like when I was leaving school, it was a case of whether I was going to do sports coaching or music. And obviously I chose music because I think music's the only thing ever that I felt connected to. Do you know what I mean? Like, and luckily I have parents that were very supportive of that, and they were really like, you have to do what makes you happy type thing. So, and they believed in me as like someone who was musical and creative. They believed that I wasn't going to just waste my time going and studying music. And then I think obviously then went to the academy and met yourself, and that's where it all started getting good. That's where the good times came. And just like, obviously, like we all came into ourselves like as musicians and artists, and obviously continue to do so now. But at the academy, meeting all these people with like minds, and obviously I had Donna as a tutor who I just look up to so much, and
Did you?
and I just took so much influence and inspiration from her, and I think she was a big part of like how I started writing songs. That kind of I don't think I was intentionally trying to be like unique, because that's not very valid if you're trying to be unique, you know. But I think there was something about like Donna and other artists like Bjork and Regina Spektor that I was listening to a lot at that point. There was something about the way they pulled my ear. Like when I listened to their songs, like wee things would pull at me. And that obviously naturally came through in my writing, I guess, like at that point. So I did go through a phase when I was at the academy where I was just writing these little quirky bops. Like that was like my kind of box that I was fitting in. And then, yeah, it's just like you evolve over time and stuff. And I'd say now I'm at like a more mature stage with my writing. And yeah, I don't know, like what else would you?
Well, I think it really shows, you know, and we're gonna do a deep dive into the archives and have a look at some of the old tunes.
Okay.
But you can definitely see that progression. And when you talk about people like Bjork and Regina Spektor, all of which is the staff here, including myself, I look back at the camera, we're all big fans, especially Regina Spektor. And you can hear those influences, the way these people kind of pick out melody, or more the way a line or a lyric is phrased. I think it's always been quite strong with your music, especially in a lot of your newer stuff, the way that the lines flow. There's always a bit of rhythm to the way you sing them, which I've always really loved. And you can, you know, when you went to the academy, presumably before that, I know you said you were in a few bands, but when you were writing, it was kind of yourself, you know, you and a piano, you and a guitar. At what point during the academy because you had a band, you know, at a point during that, when did you start getting interested in that side of kind of making a band sound of it? And, you know, what was the experience like working with other musicians and letting them come up with parts that you hadn't wrote, and, you know, that kind of thing?
So I actually remember the day that I got Danny and Kieran involved. So Kieran was either doing the HND when I was doing HNC, or he was doing the BA while I was doing HND, whatever it was. He was the year above me, and so I'd become quite friendly with Danny Lacey, just like talking to him about the academy as you do everyone. And I remember saying to him, I feel like I need a band because it's just getting a bit lonely going on stage and playing my tunes, and I was aware of the fact that it can get quite boring if you're a singer-songwriter and, you know, you're just there with your guitar for 40 minutes on stage or 30 minutes, and it's like I wanted to, you know, lift the tunes a bit, and I wanted to start getting creative, and I knew I couldn't get creative on my own because at that point I didn't understand Logic or like as in recording the DAWs or anything like that. I've also a bit of Logic, but I lacked that as well. But in terms of like actually recording music, I wouldn't know where to start. Because I skipped the BTEC, so I never learned the basics of like even garage band or anything. So, so I asked Danny, and he was up for it. And then I was sitting in the common room one day in the academy, and I saw Kieran sitting noodling away on an acoustic, and I just like went up and sat next to him. I was like, "Would you like to play guitar for me?" and he was like, "Aye," and I was like, "Cool." and then after a while, like it was just the three of us, and then I was like, "Well, let's get a drummer," and got Scott Kemp in. And yeah, it was just a case of like, at that point, as I say, I didn't have
Christmas.
Oh, sorry. Can you edit that out?
Yes, all right. Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Carry on. That's where I put a wee beep in.
Right. Oh, God.
I put a nice word in.
Right, okay.
Christmas.
Oh, sorry. So I didn't have a clue at all about arrangements or production or anything to do with building a production up. So it was really a case of me playing a song and then just being like, all right, can you just play along to this? These are the chords. And then, but I always had like the sound in my head of what I wanted. And to this day, this is something I've always had. When I write a song, I can hear the full production in my head. Obviously now I've learned and I've equipped myself with the tools to be able to, you know, work away on demos myself. And most of the stuff I write and record now, I've produced it in the house on my laptop and it's ready to go. And then I can send the band a demo now, and their parts are kind of there for the most part. But back then it was really, and it got quite difficult at times because I expected them all to read my mind, and I was like, "Oh no, play this," and I'd try and like sing what I wanted them to play, or I'd like play this drum beat, and I'd sit and try and play on the drums. And it sounds so.
I remember walking in many a session of you sitting in the drums. Yeah.
It's so silly. But I was young. I was like 17, 18, so that's fine. And but yeah, I enjoyed having the band because there was a real element of friendship there, and you know, like I love those boys so much, and I still like Kieran and Danny are still in my band to this day, and they are like two of my best friends. Like you just don't get people like that, so I'm lucky that they're still playing with me. But yeah, now it's more like obviously it's all a bit different with lockdown now, but I guess just before lockdown we were getting practices in quite a lot and we were starting to play some shows, but I was quite selective about what shows I'd take the band with me to play. So if it was like a kind of King Tut's vibe, you want the full band just for that vibe in the room, you know, because I think King Tut's can drown you out as a solo artist, like not necessarily, but for the type of music I would be playing for a solo set. And I've got a new drummer, Donald McCrudden, and he the reason I asked Donald to come back and play is because he's really good with like bringing like a digital element to what we do, so he's got like the whole setup and stuff, and he can run his DAW through the speakers and all that, and there's like more going on, so I'm getting more of an element of what's going on in the songs happening live as well, which is what I wanted.
Yeah, and I was actually going to mention that, so I will say everyone please excuse both me and Marina just coughing away and spluttering, but
It's December.
It's December, there's the tree. It's going to happen. But when you talk about, you know, your drummer Donald having those kind of electronic vibes, I was going to say there's been quite so on as your official release I have in front of me, from 2013 to last year. Each EP has quite a drastically different sound.
Yeah.
Not necessarily maybe in the way you're songwriting, but the production behind it. And I have noticed with the last two singles, you know, they are very coherent together, and there is elements of electronic little synths and pads here and there. Is that something that you've always wanted to kind of bring to your songs, or is it kind of just naturally progressed to that way? Because your first EP is very band led, very you know, the instruments we have in the band are what you're hearing in the track.
Yeah. I think the first ever EP I did, Cosmic Dust, I was really proud of Cosmic Dust, you know, like I look back and, you know, I would never go and be like, oh, go and check out my EP, Cosmic Dust. I would never put someone on it. But when I look back, I was very proud of it because I worked really hard for it. We had like a big release at McSorley's and the room was packed. Like it felt like a huge success for me at that point. And I drew the artwork and coloured every EP cover in myself and stuff. So it was like, it was a big deal back then for me. But yeah, the sound was very just what it was in the rehearsal room, in the studio also, and just recorded it as it was. And then my second EP, Scary Tale, I kind of disregard that as a learning curve because I feel like that was me going through a alter ego phase as an artist, tapping into a different side of me that I do not associate with anymore. That was like I was like 19, 20. It's like a pure pivotal age. And I think that was just me getting some stuff out of my system. But I think that EP shows me that I actually just enjoy being a songwriter that would like to write any type of song and try to find work as a songwriter for songs that I wouldn't necessarily play because I wouldn't touch any of those songs ever again, like for me personally. But I think I don't think they're bad songs. Don't think they're great songs, but I think they show that there's like styles that I can be quite versatile.
Yeah, I mean, it's scary. It's very interesting you say that. There's always a big debate that kind of goes on that when you release music, is it still yours? You know, when it's released to people, does it belong to those people? Does it belong to everyone who listens to it?
Yeah.
Obviously, you had your own thing going on during Scary Tale, and as you said, an alter ego, which I, as a listener, didn't have. So there's some tracks in there that I adore. And you're right about that kind of... I mean, the first track, Scary Tale, I think it's incredible. Genuinely love that chorus. So it's good to know you hear it. But it shows that you kind of dipped your toe. I mean, Scary Tale, for all intents and purposes, is kind of like a rock song. It's kind of like a pop rock kind of power song, especially the chorus in it. And there's loads of tracks in there. But as I was saying, you know, that EP contained, it has a sound that you're not on anymore. So you can definitely hear that these are all pivotal stages.
Yeah.
Where things are kind of going back. Anyway, back to the electronic vibes. Sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah,
there.
no, that's fine. I guess that's what I was going to say then. So I guess Cosmic Dust was like completely all about the people that were in the room, just me and the band, and yeah. And then Cosmic Dust, there was a lot of production done by a producer on that that I was working with at the time. And then so the two new songs, my most recent releases, I was working with Bruce Wallace and Graham Young, and we recorded in Chamber Studio in Edinburgh. I know you love Bruce. I think that's probably why you love the tunes. But
do you think?
Yeah, probably. And the thing that worked for me, that made those tracks connect in a way that I was happy with them, was that when me, Bruce and Graham were in a room together, I think Kieran was there like as well, but it was kind of mainly me and Bruce working closely together and Graham kind of making it come alive. There was something about that day in the studio when we were recording You Could Have Been a Genius. Everything just absolutely clicked, and it was awesome. Like, and I don't mean it was awesome, it was awesome. Like, it was awesome. Like, I was in awe of how amazing a musical process could be with people when it connects. And then we did Because of Love together again. So obviously, like, most of the song, obviously I wrote all the songs. There was a part in Because of Love that Bruce helped me complete the chords for. But production wise, it was like this thing where I'd have something in my head and I think Bruce just got me. And there was definitely parts that Bruce would do something on the guitar. I was like, oh my god, that's amazing, get that in the song. So there was like a kind of relationship there with Bruce and Graham and Kieran and myself, and something just really worked, like that. I absolutely loved it. And but then Bruce moved away to China. Yeah. Bruce moved to China.
Yeah, sure.
I think he's back now, but he moved to China, so we kind of stopped working together. So I kind of hope that we'd sustain that for a while, and do like co-writing from like overseas. But I'm not very good at being creative like remotely. Like I've struggled with the co-writing stuff over lockdown. You know, like everyone's getting really into it, but
There's something to be said about physically being in the same room as another human being, and it sounds quite airy-fairy, but feeding off the real energy of someone. You know, there's something really to be said about that compared to
I completely agree.
a face on a screen.
Yeah, absolutely. So, but yeah, the sounds that were coming through in those tracks, it was a mixture of me getting to be comfortable using Logic, and a mixture of me just expanding the type of music I was listening to, I guess, you know, and just being more creative. And but I think when I started learning how to produce and record music myself, I done like a course at the academy, like the sound production course, and the freedom that gave me, being able to actually create more than just words and a melody was really exciting. So I think I just really embraced that in those last two songs. But I do love that like really subtle minimalistic electronic vibe.
I was just about to say the exact same thing. The production in both those tracks, there's nothing smacking you in the face, like as far as a instrumentation thing, but it all works. You know, I hate to describe music as a mouthfeel, but there's lots of kind of chewy sounds and little kind of bits going on that I really love about it. Quite really subtle parts.
It's like it's all bubbling under the surface. There's like a wee, and I just love that vibe, you know. And
so that.
And it's I'm happy that we got them on the songs. You know, I think as far as the songwriting goes, I think there's quite a lot left to be desired. Like I think there's elements. So You Could Have Been a Genius, I think the vocals weren't that strong, but I think the production kind of covers for it, because there's enough going on that you're not just solely focused on the vocals. And then in Because of Love, I think there's a couple of parts where I could have written a better melody or filled out a space a bit better. But it's all learning. It's all a learning process, and you're always going to think that about songs that you've released.
Totally.
Do you know what
and
I mean?
that actually brings me on to, you think we had planned this? This brings me on, before I was speaking to you, after, that's me getting a nice call from my boss while I'm working that I told him I was doing. Definitely professional.
Oh God.
And it's still ringing. I don't know how you're rid of it. There's Marina.
Hello.
So I'm going to go and continue.
No, don't. It's really important.
This can be part of it. Right, I'll catch you soon. Okay.
Goodbye.
Bye.
That's fine.
There you go. Before I was speaking to you after wrestling with the cat and trying to get a camera angle, I was watching an interview with Joni Mitchell.
Okay.
Kind of from a few years ago, kind of the later stages of Joni's stuff. And Joni was saying that she refuses, unless she has to listen to old material. When you think Joni Mitchell, some of the loveliest songs ever.
I know.
And she refuses to listen to them because she always hears something that she goes, I wish that I put in a bass bit there, or I wish I sung that differently, or what she said, why was I whining at that part of the song? And do you find the same kind, just mentioned there? Do you listen to a lot of your own music, or
No.
or is it the same kind of, do you always hear something that you want to have changed? And
The thing is, Jason, like
Marina?
Sorry. It's getting very formal there. Sorry.
That's right.
The only music that I've ever released I'm actually happy with is the last two singles. And as I say, obviously, I still pick them apart. And I listen to them sometimes for reference when I'm just thinking about moving forward. I listen to them if I want to think about something, or if I've got something on my mind that I want to... It's never to just go back and listen. It's if I'm listening with a purpose. But
Yeah.
as far as like the older stuff goes, like the Cosmic Dust EP and the Scary Tale, unfortunately my daughter absolutely loves them. So they're on in the house quite a lot, and she puts the CD on in the car quite a lot, and I'm like, Melody, please Melody, get this off. And she's like, I love it, mummy. I'm like, oh. So I'm kind of forced to listen to it sometimes, and I truly hate listening to those EPs. Like, I can't think of anything worse to listen to, because they're absolutely horrific. I don't credit them at all. They're really, really terrible. But yeah, so I have like a SoundCloud with like 10 or 11 demos on it. I listen to them a lot because this is stuff that I'm working on and hoping. I'm working towards an album next year, but it's hard because I don't have the funding for it, so I'm literally doing it all at home right now. And I'm kind of working in chamber studio doing some recording when I've got the time, and when the songs are finished. It's just like I struggle finishing songs, but the problem I have is I think now I've realised that so all the music that I've released, as you know, it's all been either band stuff or produced quite, not heavily, but it is quite heavily produced when you actually look at the tracks and see what's going on. So and obviously that's been my choice to add it all. It's not like it's but the reason I've done it is because I think I'm always trying to hide behind something, and it's like I've got such a huge fear of being vulnerable, and like in any walk of life, but particularly in my songwriting. So the songs that I've been working on over the past kind of 9 months, they're very honest. Like, I've got a new song that I'm working on just now that is a song that's been waiting for about 2 years to be written. Do you know what I mean? And I'm very nervous about releasing it. So, as I am with like a couple of the other songs that I've written, just because they're, as you kind of said earlier, like when I'm writing songs, I've never wanted to be too upfront about what I'm saying, but I still want to connect with people. So I still try to give enough in the songs that, you know, kind of what the vibe is and you know what's going on, but there's not enough that you can be like, so this is what happened to Marina and this is how she feels about it.
Yeah, totally.
Whereas that's exactly what I'm doing with these songs, because think about people like Joni Mitchell, the way they just are so particular about what they say and you know, and what they're making you feel. There's something so powerful in that, and I think I was lacking that a lot in my songwriting, just that complete bare honesty. And I guess I just thought at 26 it's about time I started getting over that. So I'm trying to just, you know, I've not really been releasing lots lately, but I'm just trying to be clever about my songwriting and the recording process, and I'm trying to make not calculated decisions, because I'm not a calculated person, but I'm trying not to just throw everything up onto the internet right now. I want to try and bide my time and make sure that the next release is something that I'm proud of, and that I don't look back and think, oh, could have done that better. Do you know what I mean? I will say that, but like is the other stuff.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean?
as most artists do.
Yeah, of course.
As we kind of wrap up, I've kind of been about 40 minutes, so is that the plan for 2021? Are you hoping for the first album release, really? Is this the plans, or have you got some, are you wanting to do another EP, or what's kind of going through your head, at least at the moment?
Well, at the moment, I'm hoping for like 2 or 3 single releases over the first half of the year. And then towards the end of the year, I'd like to be in a position where I can release like a home recorded album. So, I'll still be going into the studio and doing what needs to be done in there with Graham. But for the most part, I just want to be vulnerable and just like really put something out that's true and honest and not completely hidden by like a million stems and logic of other things, because I honestly feel like the better songs I've written, I've never actually recorded them, like the songs that I actually have a real connection to. I don't have a connection to You Could Have Been a Genius, and I don't have a connection to Because of Love. in terms of, they were both about something that I didn't even understand at the point that I've written them. So my approach to songwriting, I guess, now is like waiting until I've actually processed something and then write a song about it, so I actually know what I'm saying in terms of a way that like people can connect it a bit more. But yeah, definitely, like, I feel like next year it's going to be just releasing things when I'm completely comfortable with them, and when I know that they've got the true meaning of what they're supposed to be, I guess, you know. Yeah.
I'm super excited to hear what if what you've released so far is not a true representation, you feel, of what you could be releasing. I don't think I'm prepared for what you will release.
This is the thing, like, I think some people might find it a bit boring because it's going to be more stripped back, but it's going to be more honest, and that's all I can do for myself. Like,
totally.
It's just a case of now just being true to what I want to be and who.
And I think people connect with that, and I think next year is going to be quite a big year of, you know, hopefully restrictions ease at some point next year, and I think next year is going to be quite big about healing and, you know, repairing a lot of damage maybe done by 2020 and COVID and loads of other political things and lots of stuff that's kind of happened this year. So I think, you know, releasing music that is honest and you know, people are going to need that, I think, and need that bit of sincerity. Is that a word? Sincerity?
Yeah.
And be able to connect with something like that. I think it's great that you're finally feeling, you know, you're able to release music like that and write songs that, you know, is a true representation. So finally, before we go, if someone wants to keep up with what you're up to with your music, where's best for them to find you? We'll link it. Is it somewhere as well? Somewhere. But where's best to find out stuff? I
am most active on Instagram, like, but or like Facebook. I guess, as I say, because I've not been doing much lately, I've not really been talking much. But when I start getting back into like proper try to push stuff, it'll be Instagram and like Facebook. So I can send you those links and YouTube, I guess. And if people want to follow me on Spotify, obviously it's just my name as like the artist profile. So
do it.
But I'll start. Yeah, please do it.
Please do it.
Please do it. But yeah, I'll start posting a bit more when I'm feeling more confident about what's actually happening, you know.
Right, well, thanks very much, Marina, for taking the time to chat.
Thanks for having me.
Interruptions and coughing and all. It's been good to speak.
Yeah, for sure.
See you later.
Thanks, bye.